Alright guys, we're joined today by a brand new Danish band, ANIMALYZE.
Woohoo!
I have a little written note here.
That's nice.
Okay. So
that's what happens when
they
you
started out being inspired by
Motley Crue,
Def Leppard, Kiss.
Yeah. And they got you guys got one album out, right?
yeah, Powerhouse.
Oh yeah. Soon too.
Now you got another one coming out.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I mean, it's great. It's actually a double EP combined to one album called Raw and Reckless, produced by Mr. Rene.
Hey.
And it's capturing two moments: the live essence of ANIMALYZE when we did our release concert back in September last year at Hard Rock Cafe in Copenhagen. Completely destroyed the place.
Burned it
Amazing.
down.
And we recorded that feeling on tape. And the other half is recorded right here in Sweet Silence Studio, an unplugged version where we have done some of our most greatest songs in an acoustic version. Yeah.
So how does it feel to have a new album out?
Exciting.
Well, it's not out yet, but it's it's coming.
Be released soon.
Going to be released soon.
Yeah.
It's always fun. People are already starting tapping in. The new fans coming in, being like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome." So it's always exciting when you've done something different like this, going acoustic. What are the audience we have now gonna say to something like this? It's very exciting to see the feedback.
Yeah, we're gonna lose 70% of our fans. That's actually the case on new.
And then we'll have to make a new album, and then we will get them back.
You also, the first album was very sort of 80s inspired.
Yeah.
So now you've decided to do the first part of this album is an acoustic thing.
Yeah.
So how do you think that's going to work out? Like, how do you think people are going to respond to that? And why did you do it?
I think it's probably, it's going to be fun that it's, at least for us, just being completely, I'm going to say naked, but, just completely ourselves in this new thing we did. And I think as long as you do what you like and what you love, people are going to follow you and they're going to hopefully like what we do. Because we 100% stand by,
The product.
this product. It was just raw, and the atmosphere in the room when we connect and we play and we sing. So it was just kind of to show people a whole other side of who we are and what we do and can do.
Yeah, Chris Clark approves.
And who doesn't want to see that?
And also because we've been experimenting a lot, also on the first album with sound and how to record and stuff, and it's 80s is one thing, that's how it is, big drums and big harmonies and all that stuff. So some sort of has some rules when you're recording because you want to capture the essence of that sound. And with this album, it's more about being ourselves and be musicians and show what we can do, not only on our instruments but also vocals and stuff like that.
But it's also, as I understand it, it's captured more like in the moment. It's not full of overdose.
Very
and
much.
stuff.
It's more organic.
True.
Yeah.
So, and also, which leads me to my next question is, you guys started not too long ago, and you're not that old, right? So, you started out wanting to be a certain style, but I from talking to you guys, I feel like this band wants to evolve into what you guys want to do, not just to something particularly, but you guys want to showcase more of what you are and who you are.
Right.
And also, the times, of course, are not the 80s anymore.
Right.
So the long question, very short, is why did you start in the 80s, and where do you see yourselves going, and why do you want to sort of evolve like that?
I think it's very natural for people to, when they start off, it's what do they come off, like what have they been listening to, like through all the years growing up, and then naturally that's what you like lean against when making your first records and songs and writing. Where now we've done that, and now it's about probably more finding like our own sound in this whole thing, trying to find ourselves, and rather than just trying to sound like something.
Yeah.
It's like now we want to sound like
Ourselves,
right?
Well, I also think it's a never-ending quest for sound and an odyssey that you can never leave on, because now we're inspired by more modern techniques and stuff like that. and then maybe in a couple of years it's going to be different. It's going to be something else that gets inspired. We got our inspiration from. So we keep evolving in the sound and in the way that we write the music, and constantly trying to figure out who we are, not only as musicians but also as humans.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand, right?
Part of growing up, right?
Yeah.
But I can kind of compare this in my head because I'm from before to when bands used to have 3, 4, 5 albums to build. Record label will invest 3 or 4 albums in you. You do the first one and we got through that one, and then on the third or fourth you would have to sort of know who you are and sort of, break. Which leads me sort of to I think I would find interesting to ask you guys. You're a young band starting out in this business nowadays, and you tried a little bit now. You've had an album out. What do you think is the hardest part to juggle in the modern day of having a band?
In modern day,
I mean, it's definitely the streaming platforms, and the competition is just. I mean, of course, it's always been tough in the music industry, so you cannot really compare it. Also, because we haven't tried the '80s. I guess. I mean, there must have been a million garage bands wanting to play rock and roll.
right?
Like now, the difference is just that everybody is allowed and are able to put something out today.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition. You can actually get stuff to sound pretty great at home. You don't need a huge studio to make a debut album or to do some demos, to do something to show the internet what you can do as a band.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of competition and no payment for any music and no money for anything and free gigs, and so everything is expensive as shit and too much competition, and so it's.
And
I mean, it's not a wanting to do something. Is we just want to play. We want to do what we want to do, and then maybe people will like it. I think it's the best setting to do it in, because look away from the competition and just look into what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will like it. I mean,
You have to make music for yourselves.
yeah,
Of course, 100%. But then the other way around, it's maybe easier to, get your music out. Because, I mean, you would know, but I've always had this idea that when you were a garage band back in the 80s, it would probably be harder to get, like, let's say, the technology to make a demo or to record, that you had to be at like a certain level to be allowed to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely has some advantages to the way things are today compared to back then. Back then you had to spend a lot of money to be in a place like we are today.
yeah.
But it's also like Vicky says, because sure, now it's easier to get more exposure, but the competition also arises because it's much easier. So now you're not only competing with other bands, big bands, but also your neighbor and local bands. And there are so many people, and especially when we're around social medias, which is another aspect of modern musicians, you don't only need to do music, you also need to be a content creator and do video stuff and learn how to edit a video and dance in front of the camera and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's just so much competition, as Vicky says. So it's a very fair point to say that maybe it's more easy now to expose your music, but as the competition also arises, I think it's the same maybe.
Yeah, I think it's harder today, like that point being that it's less about the music and more about, you also have to be, as you say, a content creator and edit all the videos and do all that kind of stuff that isn't really, I mean, it's related, but
It's not about the music.
No, I mean, I'd rather just want to sit and play and write songs, man.
Do you enjoy the social media side of it?
No.
Fuck no.
What do you think?
We're doing this for you. Mike is a natural talent.
He loves it.
I mean, it's so much about. I mean, you kind of get in a flow when you're making the content, and I think we're in a good streak right now. And you're getting creative in a lot of ways. Where I mean, what can we do to get out to people and grab their attention? Also because I think the patience and attention is just so low right now for people, scrolling through their phones and stuff. So it's so important that you can grab people's attention as fast as possible, and that's what we're working out how to do and exploring and stuff right now. Yeah.
How do you think that's relevant to your music? How do you make that sort of connection between making a funny video or an interesting video to actually having people like your music?
I ask that myself all the time.
It's so difficult because, and you know, the internet is weird, man, because you can do a video and use a lot of time of editing it and filming it and make it look professional with high quality cameras and then put your songs on it and it gets maybe 1,000 views or 3 unfollows, and then we can do a stupid video. We did one where it was kind of like a joke, maximum maybe 8 seconds I think the video is. Got over 20 million views on different platforms, which is just so weird because what do you want then? Do you want a lot of viewers and being silly and, you know, we got a meme king over here, or do you want to be, you know, have the music aspect of it and be real and then get less followers, you know, what to choose?
Yeah,
it's weird.
I think the goal with it is hopefully to, you know, get a fan base who are interested in your videos. And hopefully some of those people will then look further into it and figure out that we actually do music, and hopefully they think the music is kind of good. So, but there is that split where I think it's hard to get people from social media over to our streaming, I mean Spotify and stuff, because especially with the funny videos, I don't think most people make the connection that, you know, they're funny to look at on Instagram, but maybe they're not thinking ahead that there's also the other part of it that is our music, which is our main thing.
Yeah, social media is funny. I think like it's if we do enough of these kind of mixed videos, as Clay is also mixing right now, like short 5 seconds videos just to capture it, but also putting some kind of the music aspect in it. Hopefully we'll get the amount of views we need, and then at some point in the future when we hopefully have a lot of followers on the funny videos, we can maybe narrow it down and make it more music.
Do you think it could be done without social media nowadays?
Yeah, if you have a label and you're signed and they pay everything and maybe.
I mean, I've also heard that it's like, it's the way to start now. Like you have to build your own following, and labels need to see that, okay, there is an interest in whatever you're doing. So if you don't have like a following of like 20,000 people on your platforms, then you won't get signed.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's true. But also the other thing is you guys are a rock and roll band. So if you were a pop artist, maybe you would have a different approach.
Yeah.
So as a rock band, where do you think in your age, like tell me the range of age groups that you guys are in. So how, Mike, how old are you?
I'm 23.
23, yeah.
25.
25?
I'm 27, and you're 40?
40.
Sure feels like it. I'm 29.
29, okay. So we're in the 20s here. That's very good.
Yeah.
So how do you think things have changed in rock? Like since you've been around for a few years now, and certain things have happened in rock and roll, and certain, like all the bands that I grew up with are of course getting older, and that's one of the reasons I also want to talk to you guys, is because I think new bands should have a bigger chance to sort of have a say in it. How do you think things have changed in the last couple of years in this business, like in the rock, the way you see it as a fan of the music, an artist? Is it only the old bands that are still going, or are there new things coming that are helping new bands build?
I mean, when I started playing music, there was a lot of talk about, you know, rock and roll being dead and stuff, and that's like been the common consensus that rock and roll is kind of dead, and rap is taken over and pop music and stuff. But I think in the last couple of years, rock and roll has started to become relevant again.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a very common thing that, you know, also with when we look back to the 80s and 90s with, you know, the glam bands, and then grunge taken over, and then in the 2000s, you know, rap and pop music, and then I think automatically things are just shifting around, and things become popular and things go out of fashion and stuff. And I think there's a lot of young people who miss that rebellion and stuff that there is in rock music that isn't really the same in pop or hip hop, the same way that, you know, there's this, you know, the energy about rock and roll that I think a lot of young people are missing.
There's a lot of community around it still, right?
Exactly.
You guys get together in a room and actually play together, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's the social part about it, because, you know, the thing about being in a band and the community that you can build and stuff, I think one of the first rock bands of you know, modern times that really blew up was Greta Van Fleet, which is this rock and roll band who got, you know, people said that they sounded like Zeppelin and stuff, and then they really evolved into their own style. And I think it just, you know, it made it acceptable to play rock music again somehow. And now we have YUNGBLUD, who's really...
What has he done for rock lately?
I think he, you know, that's the funny part too, because he started out being more hip hop kind of thing, and then he slowly evolved into this rock star who's like carrying the torch, and there's all the stuff that he was good friends with Ozzy Osbourne, and he's done stuff with Smashing Pumpkins now and Aerosmith, and I think he's just making it relevant again somehow.
Do you think that's going to help you guys, like new bands in general?
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
And especially seeing a guy like him taking that thing into like the what's it called, VMAs, MTV, all that reality awards, where it's like normally you would have seen like all the pop and rap artists, and now suddenly there's this rock dude, right, at our age. Finally a guy at our own age.
Someone wearing eyeliner and nail polish, and doing the things that we're already doing, but bringing it to the masses, kind of opening the door for people like us.
And there must be like a support behind it, because I mean, since he's, of course he's where he's gotten to right now, but also being nominated for
3 Grammys.
It's also kind of crazy because, as you said, he started out with electronic vibes and all that kind of music, and I think people also want something to feel more real about, real instruments, and that's what rock music really can bring, being real and being together and playing your music instruments. And the funny thing about YUNGBLUD is he kind of been big for a lot of years, but last year with his rock and roll album Idols, it completely exploded, and that's the first time where he brought out, like really rock and roll attitude. And sure, he's always been kind of like rock and roll in a rapper kind of perspective, but now it's completely, no shirt on and wet hair and guitars up in front and drums and all this rock and roll element, and people just they eat it raw, man. That's fucking crazy. I ate him raw. We got fucking Mike and got invited up to the stage with him.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So Mike here.
Let's talk about me.
I think I forgot to introduce it, but this is Clay, by the way.
I'm Chris.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Mike.
Good. So Mike here, tell the story yourself.
So we went to see YUNGBLUD last year. And I've been a huge fan for years now. I saw him for the first time in 2021, where he played like kind of a small stage, Vega, and now he's upgraded to Copenhagen. So we all went together. I asked the guys if they wanted to come with me, and
I said no as a start.
I said fuck yeah, man, and let's get you on stage.
YUNGBLUD does this one song called Fleabag, where I've seen some videos where he pulls people on stage and lets them play guitar on that song. So I was like, I don't think any Danish people want to do that, so I'm gonna do it instead. The whole jantelov thing and stuff.
Which, for people who don't know what that means, it's an unwritten law in Denmark, is that
nobody's better than anyone else, and you kind of do your own thing and don't
stick out.
Yeah. Anyway, so I made a sign and somehow got pushed to like just in front of the stage, and he spotted me and pulled me on stage, and I got to play a song with YUNGBLUD, smoke a cigarette with YUNGBLUD.
I mean, that's so cool in itself, but twice as cool because you're an upcoming musician who want to, achieve what he's achieved. Yeah.
We did some shameless promotion too by me bringing an ANIMALYZE t-shirt up on stage and giving it to him.
So it was actually, a secret plan we had doing that. And because it's great branding, and when Mike got down from the stage, people went up to us and like, Chris and I, we weren't even on the stage, but because we were with Mike and we looked like playing in a band, people were like, oh, did you play in a band? Was that your band?
Can I have your Instagram and stuff?
People wanted to take photos of Mike, and so it...
So that's great. To me, that's very interesting, because these are young people, right?
Yeah.
Teenagers.
Good looking.
So with your first album, you appeal to a lot of the older generation, because they of course grew up with Motley Crue and Def Leppard. So how do you get from the older crowd to the young people like that? Is that only social media that can break it like that, you think?
No, I think it's difficult to say. I think social media, of course, also, but it's also about bringing the attitude, and show in public spaces where it's more young people, like in a bar or a club or wherever they are, that you show them who you really are. So we don't do filters when we go out. We show up like we normally look, eyeliners and stuff like that. And people are interested in that because we always get compliments like, "Wow, are you wearing eyeliner? Oh my god, are you in a band?" So like it works like that. I think it's about the attitude.
And then just being real through your music, and I think that's something that we, after especially this whole thing happening with YUNGBLUD and digging down to that, instead of just from the first album, maybe singing about the classic rock and roll, drinking, drugs, women, maybe go a little step deeper down and gives people something to relate to and to think about, and kind of deeper thoughts, right? Because I think there's a lot to that also with rock music, that it's from other music, of course people, they gather around like let's say pop, and they all know the songs, they sing along, but with rock music it's like there's some sort of lifestyle that follows with it, like it gathers the people that has maybe the same values in life or have gone through some of the same stuff. That's why it's like very community wise. So I think as long as we're real and we try to find those people and build this community around them, I hope that we can get some followers, some people that thinks we're nice guys.
Because we are.
We are.
We really are.
Yes, and how do you see yourselves in the future then? Now you've done this album here, we are actually at Sweet Silence Studios in Copenhagen. You've done this, worked with Flemming Rasmussen, legendary producer who did Metallica and tons of other things, Cat Stevens, Morbid Angel, tons of bands. You can look it up. What do you think the next step is for you guys?
Bob Rock.
Bob, if you're listening.
Want to play with Aerosmith?
Oh yeah.
No, are you gonna? Do you think your next album is gonna reflect the first? What do you see yourselves doing? How do you see yourselves progressing through this? I would call it a maze of music business, because it seems like it's not that easy to make a living out of it right now.
Yeah, sure.
And keep going. You have to only keep going because you can't stop yourselves.
Exactly. I mean, I think kind of going back again, the part about, keep evolving as an artist and figuring out new ways to do stuff and trying things out. I think that's the route we're going. I mean, because we're always trying to push ourselves and figure out what can be done and what sounds can we use to convey some emotions to people, and hopefully make them relate to us and our experience. And I think it's the most important thing is just keep evolving as an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as you talked about, being real is such an important thing, because the first album we did, clearly we were pursuing a certain kind of lifestyle, or maybe just on the outside, not in our private lives. So also, it's difficult then to put on a mask, and we don't want to do that. We just want to be ourselves and just play what we like, write lyrics that comes to us, from our real life experience. And I think as long as you do that, then naturally you will evolve as an artist and a musician, as a human being, and so on. And people who admire that will follow you naturally. It's like having a girlfriend, right? And you get all the attention from all the girls, and then when you don't have a girlfriend and pursuing them, they don't want you.
That's very true. So do you think it helps you guys coming out from Denmark? Or do you wish that you came from LA or Sweden or South Africa or somewhere else?
I'm grateful for living in Denmark in many ways, because there's just so many opportunities, and for a country you're actually allowed to do and try whatever you want.
Yeah.
At some point in your life. The system is made so you have a couple of years to figure out what you want to do, and you have every choice in the world to try something out. I think we have a lot of opportunities, and of course a lot of great studios, a lot of great equipment,
Right.
a lot of good stuff to try out, which we might not have had if we lived maybe in the USA or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here with you, with Fleming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we gotta be grateful for that. We are
What do you want the band to be in the next couple of years?
famous, rich.
Just talking about being real. Still on it.
Well, don't let that 80s vibe go away.
I think also about being born in Denmark and being, this 80s rock band in Denmark. It's a small country, so there's not a lot of guys doing the same stuff. So you have your own kind of platform to do your thing, instead of having 10,000 other bands doing the same stuff, because you live 80 million people in the country. So
That's true.
you have a base to build on, the Danish people, to test it out, see what the Danes like on such things, because there's not a lot of other people doing it.
So you think the actual fact that there's not that many people living here is actually maybe a positive for you guys?
Well, it definitely seems like the small rock scene that there is, that it's probably, when you get in there, it's easier for your word or for your band name to travel around from mouth to mouth. So I think people, they maybe be talking about what we're doing and the songs we're making and what without us knowing. I hope at least, but that's what it feels like when meeting new people and. Yeah.
The rock community in Copenhagen is quite, tight knit, and everybody knows each other, and we've kind of got a foot in the door with meeting people like you and Fleming and stuff, and that kind of opens up the door to get into that small community, and hopefully make some waves and get some attention from people who are interested in what we're doing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think we've been actually really good through the last couple of years to work with the people within the community. We had some Rachel, who does the DJ and event stuff, who has a big, been in the community for a long time. Also working at the underground rock club. So bringing her in, working with us on the event of our the release day we did.
Yeah. Also we have worked with. A guy, Michael is his name, who's making our website. He is also making websites for the suite, and it's just nice to meet all these people who want to do, for yourself, who's not thinking in a capitalistic way at the first sight, but more I want to help you guys, and because you're doing something that is awesome, so let's together work to get this project further. Right? So meeting all those kind of people and working with them is mind-blowing that it actually exists out there, because when you're living in a capitalistic society, it's typically long away from you, the real people out there that want to help like that. It doesn't seem real, but then you meet them.
You do meet them.
They do exist.
So tell me, what's the most fun about being a rock and roll band?
The gigs, man.
The parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing live.
Yeah.
Playing live is my favorite thing in the world.
I think maybe for me it's not so much about, you know, I don't do this because I want, you know, the money or the fame or whatever. It's more for me the stories you get to, you know, all the experiences you get to travel and experience lots of stuff that other people don't get to. Meet a lot of great people around the world, and I think that's, you know, that brings value to life when you love what you do. And then of course playing live, but that's also, I think, maybe the hardest part, that going from standing on a stage with 1,000 people and playing and fucking loving it, and then the next day you're at the cash register asking people if they want a receipt with their nobody knows who you are.
Fuck you, keep it.
So like that contrast between being up here and people want to sign stuff and take pictures to, you know, Monday morning nobody knows who you are, like that's tough. You get to take the taste of paradise, right? And then it's taken away.
Well, it's also good to keep you grounded, isn't it?
Yep.
I've heard that, yeah.
But listen, guys, I think you do absolutely amazing, and I wish you all the best for your endeavors, whatever you do. I mean,
Thank you.
I actually have seen these guys play, and as when you come out of an 80s sort of thing, a lot of people think, that's just image and stuff, but these guys can actually play and sing, and maybe dance a little bit. And they will be, what's the next thing for you guys?
We'll be playing.
Nordic Noise.
Yeah. And after that,
And after that,
we'll do a support gig for The Suite with Andy Scott. So it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chit chat.
thank you for having
Good
us.
time.
And if you want to check them out, Animalyze.
Animalyze.
Will be a link below. And thank you to Bo and Flemming Rasmussen for lending their time and the studio to do this little interview. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you.
Sådan.